order of life as a Krishna, dedicating his life to practicing bhakti and sharing it with others all over the world. On behalf of ISKCON Sydney Book Distributors, we would like to thank Maharaj from the bottom of our hearts for having given us this opportunity to hear from him. Maharaj, here we have with us our enthusiastic bunch of book distributors who had participated in a series of book distribution campaigns in the past 8 months. The campaigns include Bhadra Purnima, Live to Book, and now we are running Sri Sri Radha Gopinath's 50th anniversary book sponsorships campaign. Without book distributors' continued support, we will not be able to participate in a series of campaigns as this. We have been endeavoring slowly yet steadily towards each of our set goals. More than this goal, the Association of Enthusiastic Book Distributors enlightens us. So without further ado, I'd like to let Maharaj share his words of wisdom. Thank you.
Everything has to be on camera these days. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'm very happy to see that finally the Congregational Book Distribution in the North Sydney Temple has consolidated and is moving forward. It's taken a while, it's taken some effort. But you stuck to it, and now a very solid team has developed. A team that's the veteran of several campaigns already. And a team that we can look forward to the future of greater accomplishments. So what is it that you all are experiencing? You're tasting an activity that Krishna himself wants to taste. You are savoring the distribution of love of Krishna. You might say, well, how is it that people can receive love of Krishna? They don't even know that they're different from the body. They don't even know they should stop eating meat and intoxication, illicit sex, and gambling. They don't even know that. So how is it that they can receive love of Krishna? You're giving the seeds. And when the seeds are watered, the seeds sprout into a plant that grows. So you're giving the package. And that gift that they receive in the form of a package will be their eternal asset. And at the right time, the package opens, and out comes the bhakti lata, the creeper, the plant, the growing plant of bhakti. Love of Krishna has its seedling stage, just like a mango has its stage as an unripe mango. But even the unripe mango is still a mango. It's just a matter of time before the unripe mango becomes mature and sweet. So this is what you can see happening as you participate in the book distribution. You get a front row seat. You can see the seeds being planted. You can see the seeds sprouting. And the amazing thing that you'll see is that some seeds will sprout and become distributor plants themselves. So in this way, you're multiplying. You're seeing the bhakti garden grow so lushly and abundantly. You'll feel how Krishna is using you, because this is the easiest way to approach Krishna. The easiest way to approach Krishna is by following the order of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who's Krishna himself. And he orders, wherever you go, whomever you meet, teach the science of Krishna. You're getting a taste of just distributing without barriers, without restrictions. As your book distribution grows, you're experimenting with new ways. You're seeing people who you wouldn't expect to take a book, they're taking books. I was just hearing from one devotee. He's originally from South India, but he migrated to New Zealand and then he's in the USA, in Atlanta, Georgia. So he has a book table outside a spice store that generally Indians go to, but because everyone is wanting spices these days, so people from all over, all types, are going to this spice store. And so he has a book table outside. And he's selling sets of Bhagavatams, full sets, to persons who know nothing about Krishna and have never met him before. And they're buying a full set of Srimad Bhagavatam right there on the street. And I've seen videos of the people taking the full sets and putting them in the boot of their car. And this is the first time I ever contacted a devotee. And what amazes me is that in all these video clips I've seen of this happening, the people are thanking him. They act like they're not paying for the books. So thank you for this gift. They're so overwhelmed by receiving the book, the full set of books, that they're thanking him, ignoring the fact that they're paying for a full set of books. So the latest one I saw was, it was Gaur Purnima, and he had it in his mind to distribute a full set of Sri Chaitanya Charitamritas on the street. Because normally I told him, start with the Bhagavatam, and when people get a Bhagavatam set, then introduce the Chaitanya Charitamrita set. But it was Gaur Purnima, and he wanted to distribute a set of Chaitanya Charitamritas. But nothing was happening that day. So he was packing up his book table and packing up the books, ready to go back to his base. And all of a sudden, comes driving up right in front of him is a Rolls Royce. And out from the Rolls Royce pops this sporty-looking couple. And the man introduces himself, that he's the pastor, the evangelical pastor, one of the biggest churches in Atlanta. Obviously, he's doing quite well for himself, driving a Rolls Royce. The Lord is blessing. And the man just walks right up to the table and says, well, I've heard about what's going on here. What do you have for me? And so this devotee, named Shastra Krit, sold him a full set of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And again, the pastor, the reverend, is thanking him. Thank you for making this gift available and this wisdom. I'm interested in all forms of enlightenment. I'll take these to my home and relish them. So the more you participate in this glorious activity of distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, the more miracles you see that are unforgettable. And you want everyone to have a chance to participate in this greatest activity. And I can understand that you would feel that way, because this is how Krishna as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu feels. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I want to not only be gardener, but I want to be the tree also. Because as a tree, you can be so giving. The gardener takes care of the tree. The gardener picks the fruits and distributes them, and the gardener can also enjoy the fruits. But what about, besides being the gardener, what about being the tree? So you know about the Bhakti Kalpataru, the wish-fulfilling tree of bhakti. It started as a seed, the seed of ecstatic love of Krishna, first manifested as Madhavendra Puri, the grand spiritual master of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then the seed appeared as Ishwar Puri, who in Krishna Lila, as you know, is Sandipani Muni, the educator of Krishna and Balaram for their sacred thread initiation. And then the seed manifests in Navadvip as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the seed grows into a tree. And that tree has 9 roots. Those are the main sannyasi pillars of Mahaprabhu's mission. And the central root is Paramananda Puri, who in Krishna Lila is Uddhava, Krishna's friend and cousin. In Gaura Lila, Uddhava is Paramananda Puri, who is also Mahaprabhu's friend. And then, with Mahaprabhu as simultaneously the tree, the Bhakti Kalpataru, as well as the trunk. He's the whole tree, but he's also the trunk. And the trunk becomes 2 main branches. One is Nityananda, the other is Advaita Acharya. And from those 2 main branches of the trunk of Mahaprabhu, so many sub-branches and sub-sub-branches come. And, as Srila Prabhupada instructs us in the purport, ISKCON is one of the branches of the Bhakti Kalpataru, that is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Mahaprabhu wants to be the tree, the whole tree, with all the branches, all the roots, all the leaves, and all the fruits. But he also wants to be the trunk. And then he also wants to be the gardener. But as the gardener, he's giving you an invitation. He's the Supreme Personality Godhead. But he's saying, I can't do this task of fruit distribution all on my own. Of course, he can do anything. But when he says, I can't do this distribution just by myself, that means he's giving you a chance, and a chance to easily become dear to Krishna by assisting Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I can't do it alone. Therefore, I order every person in the universe assist me in distributing Krishna consciousness. So if you take that order up, you become recognized by Krishna. You may be a young person. You may be an old person. You may be male, female. Doesn't matter. You have this golden opportunity. So I'm so happy that you all are increasingly taking advantage of this opportunity. Young are doing it. I hear that the boys in the Gokul family are out distributing. Is that true?
Yeah.
Very good. Perfection of the teenage years. And those who are older but young at heart, they're also distributed. So, increase. The way you'll increase your ranks is by engaging others, involving others, and then they'll taste, oh, this is what you all are doing. We thought you were just being fanatical. Now we see that you're actually you're doing the real devotional service. And by your working together to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books, your understanding of the books deepens as you read them. And of course, besides distributing, you should read them. But you get your reward of distributing when you read. The purports just jump out of the page into your consciousness. And you progress beyond just being a theoretical religious believer. You get realization. As Sarvabhauma wrote in his famous prayer, Vairagya Vijja Vijjamukti. Lord Chaitanya came to teach detachment from whatever impedes bhakti and knowledge of what brings us closer to Krishna. You get to experience this in such a vivid way. So let me explain. As you know, we have our brahmachari team of book distributors. In the old days of ISKCON, book distribution was mainly considered something done by the specialists. Just like you have IT specialists in various branches of IT. So book distribution in the old days of ISKCON was like a commando activity done by specialists full time, and they carried the torch. But now we're seeing that even more books can be distributed for Srila Prabhupada's pleasure if we involve a wider spectrum of persons, a wider group of persons, who individually may not do as much as the commandos of the old days. But when you have a bigger group and they're all trying to do their bit, it all adds up to something even more. There was a saying that when I first came to Sydney in 1994 or something like that, there was a saying that I was repeating amongst the few book distributors of that time, that actually the real method is that many hands make for light work. Of course, the work of book distribution is a joy, so we can say many hands make for light joy. But this idea that we just put the whole burden of book distribution on Sriman Nrsinga's shoulders, he's a brahmachari, we'll cheer him onward. We'll cheer on Kamsari saying, but they're carrying the torch for all of us. Go on, march on. Yes, of course we appreciate their Herculean endeavors, but why should they have all the fun? You should be greedy. Why should Amsa Sangha monopolize the whole situation? And so you should protest. Everyone has the right to do Sankirtan. And you're always showing that. So many persons here are family persons. Radhika Prasad, Kamala Prasad, and they're prasadics. The activities for everyone, because this is what Lord Chaitanya desires, and you're tasting what Mahaprabhu wants. and therefore you're excited and enlivened. So we want others to experience what you're experiencing. We've waited a long time for this Sydney congregational book distribution to take off. But you've got some, as I said, you have some campaigns under your belt. You're veterans now. So, increase the numbers of distributors, because many hands make for light work. We'll get big scores by everyone doing a little bit, and then you add it up together, and it becomes bigger than if we just rely on the special forces, the commandos, who are of course glorious in their activities. But you should be greedy to get your share. Greed is allowed in bhakti. How many of you have ever been greedy for something before? I won't ask you that. What for what? What were you greedy for?
Job and service, serving human like greed for giving opportunities.
Well, greed for devotional service is wonderful. But before that, you were
I did job.
greedy for getting a position, a title, a promotion, higher salary, higher respect. Who else raised their hand? Yes, what were you greedy for?
Position.
Position. Why?
Just to
Impress the relatives.
Yeah, respect in the society.
So when you go back to India to visit the family, they, oh, what is your position now? My position is such and such. That's a big part of it, right? Because they think you're in Australia, so in 10 years, they think you're going to be CEO, right? We have to say something. So yes, there's longing for that, there's greed. And that greed motivates you for material achievement. The perfection of greed is to assist, greed to assist Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Have an appetite that becomes greed. And this will be the most unforgettable spiritual experience. And remember, Mahaprabhu himself says, I just don't want to be the gardener. I want to be the tree itself. I want that experience of being at the service of everyone. That's what a tree is like. When I'm speaking to university audiences, I always, not always, but often use the example of how your life is seen by you as a metaphor, whether you know it or not. When you think of your life, you have to visualize some kind of metaphorical example, because otherwise, how do you think of your life? How do you get a grip on your own life? Consciously or unconsciously, you're thinking of your life as, there's some image that comes to your mind. So what are some of the most popular images for your life that you hold, whether you recognize it or not? Number one is the race. You're running a race. And you're trying to come out number one. Number two at the very worst. So your whole life is a race. You're acting like that. This is your conception. I'm running a race, and I have to win. And I always ask the students at the unis, what's the worst thing that can happen when you're running a race? To stumble and fall, because when you stumble and fall, what happens next? Not only does it take effort to get back, but when you stumble and fall, you are trampled by all the other runners. Oh, it's horrible. Today it's so common in the working world to have this fear of falling behind, fear of falling backwards. You fought so hard to get your position in the working world, and one misstep, you can stumble and be trampled, left in the dust. in spite of all your years of dedication and education. Such paranoia, isn't it? To be left behind, to have fallen backwards. You disappoint the relatives in India, you disappoint your family here, you have to hang your head and hide out in shame. So you're running the race, you want to win. So there's so much fear and anxiety associated with seeing your life in that way. But what's another metaphor, another image you can hold of your life? The ladder. Climbing the ladder to get to the top rung. Still materialistic, but it's a different conception than running a race. Instead of running the race, you're climbing the ladder. And the goal is to get to the top. But while you're climbing the ladder, there's always the risk that you make a misstep and you fall off the ladder. Or there's a risk that you actually get to the top of the ladder. By the time you're 65, 70, you get to the top rung. And then you realize, it's lonely up here. I don't feel satisfied. I spent my whole life trying to get to the top rung of the ladder. And now I'm up there, but there's no one else with me. And it's not satisfying. But guess what? You can't go down the ladder. Society doesn't allow that. No, you're at the top rung. That's you. You don't allow yourself to go down. Even though you're miserable, you can't go back down the ladder. And by the time you get to the top rung, you're so old that even if you wanted to go down the ladder and start a new ladder going up, you don't have time for that. So you're stuck, you're trapped. I'm 65 and I realize this is really not the ladder I wanted to climb. Too bad. So maybe you're seeing your life as a race, running a race. Maybe you see it as a ladder, climbing a ladder. But there are better ways to visualize your life. You can see yourself as a compass, giving directional advice to others on how they can achieve a truly beneficial lifestyle. Of course, as a compass, you yourself have to know where you're going in life and why. But Mahaprabhu's conception, his metaphor, is the best. He says, I want to be the tree. And he quotes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, he quotes a verse from 10th Canto Bhagavatam, when Krishna and Balarama are wandering in the forest of Vrindavan. Aho esham varam janma Sarva Pranupajivanam. Krishna says, as quoted by Mahaprabhu, how glorious is it to have the birth of a tree? Now we've always heard that a tree's birth is very lowly. But why would Mahaprabhu glorify the birth of a tree? Because metaphorically speaking, using the example of a tree as an image, he says, look at what a tree does. It gives everything. It gives its fruit, it gives its flowers, it gives its leaves, it gives its branches, it gives its twigs, it gives its wood from the trunk of its body, bark from its body, sap, roots, it even gives shade. Therefore, Sarvapranyupajivanam. It's giving everything of its whole life for the service of others. How glorious is it to have the birth of a tree? Krishna's explaining this, and Mahaprabhu is repeating it. I want to be not simply the gardener, but I want to be the tree, because the tree can give so much to so many persons. So this should be your aspiration. This should be our aspiration for congregational book distribution, a chance to be the tree. Not a mundane tree, but a bhakti kalpataru, a wish-fulfilling desire tree of devotional service. So the more that you can encourage others to join you, the more you'll see this flood of Lord Chaitanya's mercy covering Sydney. You're just beginning. You just have a core group here. That's wonderful. I'm happy that this group has sustained itself. So continue to grow like this. Maybe some of you were unsure at first. Should I be doing this? Is this really necessary? I'm doing my puja at home. Isn't that enough? When I go to the mandir, I put something in the mandir. Isn't that enough? But what happened? You got a taste, right? A taste that's indescribable. Now you are starting to see why Lord Chaitanya says, not only do I want to be the tree, but I want to distribute the fruits, enjoy the fruits, and then the taste of the fruits is described. When the living entities taste the fruits from the bhakti kalpataru, they become mad with ecstasy. They become so intoxicated. They chant loudly, they dance, they roll on the ground. So we have a lot to look forward to by your efforts. Finally, it's coming together. So please continue to grow like this. And you'll see Krishna consciousness increase. We may not know exactly how it's going to happen, but the flood will begin. And the flood will deepen. The real flood will soon. All right, any questions?
Maharaj, in the process of educating Buddhist leaders, so would we have to find out that if they are chanting minimum number of rounds, or is it okay if it's
Anyone? Yes. Distribute without restriction, without any stipulation. Let everyone participate. And even if they're not chanting rounds or following the rules, by participating and distributing, they'll become inspired. They can start from any stage of their Krishna consciousness development. Obviously, they'll be more effective as they begin their bhakti practice more seriously, but still. I know so many persons who have become devotees who met someone who was not practicing fully, but that person gave them a book and said, look, I'm not following this anymore, but here's a book that you might be interested in. So you can't put barriers up to Lord Chaitanya's mercy. Just let it flow. I remember I was just living in the temple ashram for only 3 weeks, and I was going out recruiting persons and bringing them into the temple. I would meet them at the Sunday feast. They would come for the first time to the Sunday feast. And this is, of course, back in the early 70s, different social climate. So newcomer would be there, and I would be very enthusiastic. I've been doing this for 2 weeks. It's great. And the person would say, really? And I said, yes. The person said, well, yeah, maybe I should get into this. I said, that's right. And I'd say, where do you live? Oh, I live about a half-hour train ride away. Let's go. We'll go to your house. We'll pack your stuff up. My wife's right. I remember those days. It was normal. Come on, where do you live? Because that's what was done to me. So hey, Fred, that's the Yugadharma. That's the way it works, you know. Or one of my godbrothers, his Devamrita Swami. He just came to the temple in the USA for the first time. And they just said, hey, you like it here? Move in. He moved in and he's never left. Like 50 years, you know? That was So I had just been in the temple a few weeks, and I would meet someone at the Sunday feast. You like it, huh? I like the food. It's great, huh? I like the music. Great, huh? Wouldn't you like to live here? Yeah, maybe I would like to live here. Where are you staying now? Well, about a half hour away. Okay, we'll go to your home. We'll get your stuff. Sounds astonishing to you all now, right? Look at me like. Those were magical times in many ways. So, enroll everyone in your efforts. The more, the better. Some will distribute full sets. Some will distribute a few books, but it all adds up. You'll feel through Parampara, Srila Prabhupada's blessings upon you. Bhakti will become more real for you. You won't be just ritualistic believers. You'll become realized. Anything else? Yeah?
I haven't distributed many books yet, but if you're a common place you stand and if you're trying to distribute, do you discriminate whom you give the book to, or how do you?
If you have several persons approaching you at once, or in range, several persons, you pray to Krishna, well, which one should I approach? But sometimes you have no choice, there's just one person there. And that's where you see the magic of Sankirtan. Persons who you never thought would take a book. You approach them and they take. But often you may have a choice. This person, that person, this house, that house. So you pray to Krishna and act. There'll be surprises. Persons you thought were, for sure this person will take a book. They don't. And for sure this person is not interested, but anyway, I'll give it a try. They take a full set. So you don't know how Lord Chaitanya is going to use you. That's part of the excitement. So be open to all kinds of experiences, using your intelligence as far as it goes. I think this one looks like the likely candidate. And then be ready for surprises. Someone you thought would never take a book does so. Yeah. Yes.
Gurudev, I was wondering how can we close the gap between what we preach and what we live. Sometimes there may be impurities that we are all struggling with.
As you try to engage others in Krishna's service, you realize that you want to be a pure tool, a pure instrument in Krishna's hands. Therefore, we have our vows for following the regular principles and chanting of these 16 rounds. You stick to those. and gradually Krishna will empower you. Yeah?
We're currently, like, we're just situated in one small part, insignificant part of Australia. So, is it, as devotees, is it our jurisdiction or responsibility, is it just limited to just one, the part we're in, or New South Wales or the rest of Australia? How do we...
Well, Sydney is not an insignificant part of Australia. How big is your capacity? If you have so many devotees and you're not, and Sydney is too small for the whole infantry of brahmacharis, then that's a tactical question that your temple leader, brahmachari leader can decide. How much time to spend afar, because there are people in the outback who've never seen devotees, and how much time to spend on the home front. You have to do both. And it's a good experience to go out on traveling Sankirtan. I did it for several years in the USA. There weren't campgrounds like you have. There were no campgrounds like that in the USA. A few, but not many. We just sleep in the van. I remember I would have a spot on the two front seats. You just get a box of books and put them in the middle between the two front seats and stretch out. So that was my bed. And then you had your water allotment for a shower in the morning. Milk containers, plastic milk containers, so everyone got allotted, I don't know, 2 liters or something. But it was a great experience going here and there, distributing Lord Chaitanya's mercy. But also, we were coming from the New York temple, and New York City is a huge responsibility. 20 million people in the metropolitan area. The people saw devotees so much that wherever we go in New York, people would say the same thing. You guys are everywhere. There must be thousands of you. Every public event we were there. Every sports event, every movie theater, the popular movies, there were lines outside the theater. People lined up to see a popular movie. So we worked the whole line. Concerts, music concerts. We would work the crowds as they were entering the arena, because these arenas in the U.S. hold like indoor arenas like 20,000, 25,000 people. And so the big music stars would do concerts in such places, and we would sell books as the people were going in. And then once they were all inside, we load up with books and somehow to get inside. And then before the concert started, as people were sitting down, we knew right where to go to sell the most books. We go to the bathrooms. Because these arenas have huge bathrooms. So we just stand outside the door of the bathroom, and as people are going, as the men are going in, we'd stop them and so on. Then when we really got enthusiastic, we'd just go right inside the bathroom, and the men are relieving themselves in the urinals. Excuse me, take a look at this. That's what we were really intoxicated with, Lord Chaitanya's mercy and our youthful enthusiasm. And then the concert would start, and we would go up and down the main aisles, but you couldn't go in deep into where the people were sitting, but the people were sitting at the end seats of the. We walk up and down the aisles and distribute books to. We go until 2 in the morning. get back to the temple around 3 a.m., and then we knew, what's the point of going to sleep? You have to go to Mongol Arti. So I don't suggest you follow such a schedule. I remember being crushed against the wall at a George Harrison concert. He was playing, he was a big arena, 20,000 people. He was doing a concert with Ravi Shankar. And so we were there with boxes and boxes of paperback Krishna books, because the introduction, as you know, is written by George Harrison, the preface, there was something, message from him in the beginning. And so, as a concert proceeding, George Harrison stepped to the microphone to introduce the next song. And he said, this next song is about Krishna. I'm missing you, Lord Krishna, where are you? So I knew, oh, this is a big sales opportunity. So I loaded up my arms with like 50 Krishna books. So as soon as he finished singing that song, I yelled out, Krishna book, Krishna book. Hundreds of people rushed out of their seats and pushed me against the back wall of the arena with money in their hands. In 5 minutes, I distributed 50 Krishna books. So I had nothing left. So those kind of experiences, you never forget. So we want you all to have memories like that. The first person, not the first devotee, but the devotee I approached in New York City because I was looking for Srimad Bhagavatam. Never forgets. Many of you know the story. I've been reading Prabhupada's books for 6 months, 4 hours straight, but I didn't want anything to do with devotees. But then I got a message from the BBT in the post that the deluxe first canto, not what Prabhupada brought from Delhi, but the first production, publication done on a printer outside of India. First canto was available. And so I decided I had to take the risk of finding a devotee and getting it. So I remember going to a bus terminal where I knew devotees would be distributing. And I walked past this lady distributor, seeing if she would stop me. And I was decked out with the latest New York fashions, you know. So I walked past once, she didn't stop me. I walked past twice. I mean, this bus terminal has 5,000 people in it at any moment. So it's not like I was all alone and she ignored me. But anyway, I just thought, let me see if she stops me. I walked past once, twice, 3 times, she didn't stop me. So I said, all right, I'll go up to her and ask her a perfectly logical, normal question. I just walked up to her and said, do you have Srimad Bhagavatam? Her eyes blinked and then she caught herself. Because how many times a day does someone come up to you and ask me, do you have Srimad Bhagavatam? So I said, I'm not here to answer questions, I just want the book. Anyway, long story. Ended up, an hour later, I was minus $10,000. And then 2 weeks later, I was passing through the same bus terminal again, going somewhere. And she saw me. There you are! I said, oh no. But an hour later, I was minus another $10,000. So then finally, she said, look, you know, you've given so much money, you've given $20,000, you might as well come to the temple and see where your money's going. I said, well, that makes sense. Yeah, I I should go to the temple. I'm giving these people $20,000. I didn't even get the books. I didn't get the Bhagavatam. So that's how I started going to the Sunday feast. So you get experiences like that by participating in this congregational book distribution, just astonishing events that will form dazzling memories of your bhakti lifetime. These are stories you can hand down to your children, and your children can hand them down to their children. And just think, you're only beginning. You don't know who you're meeting. You don't know where the book is going to wind up. You don't know. You just want to be used by Krishna. I remember in New Zealand I met a house mover. He came to one of our outreach programs. A guy whose business is to move the contents of houses. And he came in and he saw the Bhagavad Gita. This is the first time he was coming to one of our programs. Oh, this book, I'm a house mover. I know what's in everyone's home. I see this book everywhere in the whole country. now I know where it comes from. Trust me, he says, I know what the content of someone's house is. So you get experiences like that. And then you read about Lord Chaitanya's desire to be the gardener, the tree, the distributor of the fruits, the enjoyer of the fruits. You get such realization. You become a real devotee. One who's dedicated to be the servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because Krishna is difficult to approach, but Krishna as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very easy to approach. That's your advantage. All right, anything else?
So pretty much.
Yeah.
So actually I work in hospital. My patients are all very vulnerable, going through serious neurological diseases. And a lot of times I want to talk about Krishna book to them because they might be dying in a few years. And I have devised a plan with a friend of mine, so I give them the address to post the book to them.
Nice, very good.
So is that okay?
Yes, somehow or other. Find some opportunity. When we were at the bathrooms and inside the bathrooms in the concert arena, we were just finding an opportunity. Anything else? Yeah?
Well, how do we gauge success in our book distribution? Is it just the scores? Is it how satisfied we feel? How do we...
Your effort. The most powerful realizations I've had of Srila Prabhupada are in the bleakest circumstances where there seemed to be defeat. It's something I still try to understand today. Why in those circumstances did I feel most close to Prabhupada? What about the victories? I remember during my Iron Curtain days, just crushing defeats, just smashed by the KGB, devotees terrorized, and everything torn to bits. And yet, those were the times I felt Prabhupada's mercy the most. Those are the times I felt his pleasure the most. You just try to do something to please Krishna. You can't dictate to Krishna when Krishna should be merciful, when he should notice. Just like Krishna tells Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, victory or defeat's not your concern, just be an instrument. Yes.
Just tagging on from Srimana's question.
Speak louder, please.
Just tagging on from Prabhu's question previously. It's a good run currently that we have in terms of the practice and the exercise. It's mostly community distribution. How do we display the onus of, there is an onus to display that we don't look like an Indian religion. So how can we develop, there's two aspects of it, how can we develop that onus not to appear like an Indian religion?
Just distribute the books. This is congregational book distribution. Don't get into all those mindsets. You distribute the books. But you're saying, when you offer someone the book, someone says, oh, this is Indian religion?
Not much like that.
But we're talking here about congregational book distribution. And what can be done? India is the land of Krishna, you know? What are we supposed to do? The sun rises in the east. Are we supposed to tell the sun, no, not the east? But
The question is more, how can we expand to other, what can we do to expand over the boundaries?
you have to become over the boundaries in terms of being a transcendentalist. You're a spirit soul. You're not from this country or that country. When you have compassion, people don't care where you're from if you have genuine compassion. So there's no need to get into all these complexities. Krishna North, Krishna West, Krishna South, Krishna Central. Krishna's everywhere. Is that okay? I said something wrong. Why make things unnecessarily complicated?
We still seem like a continental religion. So
You do? You seem like a continental religion?
I'm trying to.
You mean you yourself?
Yeah.
People think, oh, he's a deshi as soon as they see you. Huh? They run away, huh? You had that experience?
Mostly, yeah.
They run away from you.
Not run away, but it's very limited.
What your book distribution is limited?
Yeah.
What, people come? Oh, no. Go. What are you trying to do? Why are you constructing these imaginary complications? You do your part, and Krishna will give you more intelligence, and gradually things will expand. But people are not running away from you. Oh, he looks like he's from Philippines. They run away. It's not like that. So why get into these sociological complications? What's the profit for you? You work part-time, your wife works part-time, you have 2 children. When you have a chance, you go out and distribute, yes? People buy books from you, yes?
Yes. One of the reasons I say is that I meet a lot of people who come, say, after 4 or 5 years now. And they tell me clearly that they struggle to get through the appearance at the beginning, and they're afraid that you're kind of guiding them into religion. I have people tell me.
You have to be strong enough to show them that's not the case, but that takes some time. First of all, they're fortunate because they're coming to you. And then you yourself have to not be mental. If you're mental, they'll pick up on it. Well, is this a Hindu religion? Yeah, I think it is. Just like that, it goes both ways. I was speaking to one devotee, initiated devotee. Where was this? At New Govardhan. He lives in Brisbane now, but he came to see me with his wife and said, he's initiated devotee now. He said, I first met you at a retreat at the Melbourne farm, New Nandagram, and you were the one who told me to chant Hare Krishna. 8 years ago. And I said, it's like, I said, you obviously chanted because now you're initiated. He said, right. I said, but I know what you were thinking. You were thinking when you first met me, who is this foreigner telling me to chant Hare Krishna? He said, yes, I was thinking. I said, but did you chant? He said, yes. So, this goes on everywhere. But you have to be stronger than that. That's the real solution, to become potent in bhakti. That'll take some time. Just like Prabhupada said, there's enough merit in his books that you can sell them just by describing the glories of the book itself. He said, that's a gradual art. He said, meanwhile, don't diminish your BBT contributions. He wrote us that in New York. Because devotees were making up stories. This book will solve the oil problem. This book will solve it. It's true. Ultimately, the book will solve all problems. But they were kind of stretching it. And so Prabhupada said, actually, he wrote a letter to us, actually, you can say any damn thing. But the real art is to speak of the glories of the book. That's sufficient. They said that'll take some time. So, please think about that. The real solution is to become so potent that you rise above these bodily conceptions. That's what we need, powerful carriers of Lord Chaitanya's mercy. That's the real solution. And that's what we should emphasize. That devotees become potent carriers of Srila Prabhupada's mercy. So please think about that. If you want to. The externals are not so important. All right, you go out wearing Western clothes, and you can see you can more easily approach persons than if you went out with a dhoti and kurta. But that doesn't mean you should make a whole thing out of it. Just do what works for you. You don't have to create a theology about it. Sorry if what I'm saying is against your religion. I might know what I'm talking about. I mean, I'm born in the West, I'm not born in India. What am I doing here? Why are you my disciple? Well, there must be something higher that's going on, we hope, right? So similarly, you go to a higher platform. become so Krishna conscious that people don't care where you're from. That's the real solution. Without that, nothing works. So whether it's Krishna North, Krishna South, Krishna West, Krishna East, where is Krishna? That is the most important factor, I can assure you. So I'm not against a little adjustment here, a little adjustment there, but if we lose sight of the most important factor, then we have a problem. Still want to go on, huh?
I wasn't meaning the external adjustment. I think
Your job is how to distribute more and more books, and then Krishna will expand your service from there. Your job is how to distribute more and more books. When I had the good fortune of being a full-time book distributor, I would never think that I'd be doing what I'm doing now. You do your part, and Krishna will do the rest. All right. Continue to increase. I thank you all so much. Hare Krishna.
His Holiness Devamrita Maharaj ki
Jai.